up, you guys? I'm gonna use this last minute. God, we got that vortex thing happening. I'm gonna do a little housekeeping before I get started. First of all, what's up, y'all? Hey, y'all. Hey, it's been a minute. We'll talk about that in a minute. But a couple housekeeping things. Today must be just the day because every kid, every person that lives over here is in front of my window and I can't eliminate the noise. So if you hear the dogs out too, so if you hear a whole lot of shenanigans going on outside, that's what it is. I'll try to pause, but let me know. Um, if I'm trying to do my husband. Y'all been trying to log on for 5 minutes. Hey, hold on. So I wanted to make sure. I always try to make sure that visually it looks okay. I don't know what is up with today, y'all. I swear, somebody is busy. Somebody is busy trying to impede. And this happens a lot. Like when I plan on going live, like everything will be good. I'll be walking around. I'm like, oh, I should go live while I'm out in these streets. And something be like, nope, no, ma'am. And so then I'll record a video and then never edit it. But second part of housekeeping, you guys, is I'm figuring out a way to continue to post like live streams like this one on YouTube and keep my edited content for my platform, which you guys can subscribe to get. So once that is actually moving along and you guys get over there and get familiar with that platform, more will be available, or I shouldn't say more will be available. I'll start transferring the things that are there to YouTube. Right now, I'm not going to do that because I want to make sure that my members have exclusive access to that stuff first. Okay. So that's part of the reason why y'all haven't seen me. The other reason that you guys, because I've been trying to build things, get some things together, and I have literally physically been moving about since February 11th, technically February 10th. I'm lying, February 5th. February 5th, I was still in Greece, and I have since left Greece, and I'm in Cabo Verde. Y'all, if you didn't know, I'm in Cabo Verde, and that's what kind of prompted this impromptu session. As I was sitting, and over the last few days, I've been literally like, what am I doing? What am I doing? What am I doing? And one of my other dear friends, who is a fantastic YouTuber as well, from Life to Legacy, she literally did a video about things I was making notes about, kind of along the same lines. Hers was rookie mistakes that even we seasoned travelers and nomads, slow mads, or whatever we want to call ourselves, make. And I literally, the day before, was talking to someone going, I can't believe I did this, right? And just like trying to recalibrate myself and get myself together and figure things out and all that. And so today I want to talk about unexpected things that happen when you're traveling, but from the perspective of being a long-term traveler, because it is slightly different, and especially if you are home free, and there is, that little paradigm there that is slightly different, and how unexpected incidents, situations, things that pop up, how those things kind of affect us. And this is definitely not to scare anybody, but to prepare you. So you're like, all of the videos that most of us create, YouTubers, content creators, IGers, whatever we may be, consultants, whatever, is primarily to prepare you guys so that you know when you get out here in this space, these things may never happen to you, because I'm going to mention some things that haven't happened to me, but I'm very well aware and conscious of them just in case. And so that's why most of us share things, is so that you are aware of what types of things to look out for and when to be prepared. Like, you might not be like, okay, I expect such and such to happen. When it does, you'll be like, talking about? Okay, and this video technically could probably be 3 parts, but I'm only gonna talk about one, two, three, four, maybe five things. Try to have a round number that people like. 5 things, and kind of branch off. And you guys feel free to ask questions and things. I think I can see comments if you guys leave them. And I know it's probably early for my US people, especially if you're Central Standard Time, because I think it might be 12 a.m. I'm sorry, 12 p.m. Oh, so it's not early because it's 6 p.m. my time. All right, y'all up. Y'all up. So what's up, you guys? Again, welcome back to my channel. Thank y'all for being patient, for following me, checking to see what's going on. I'll do my little PSA again, that if you followed me on Facebook and you realize that I ain't there, I ain't there. I'm there, but I'm not there. You can find me under Where's Ali. Kind of forced me to put everything in sync. Where's Ali, and then Ali Carter will be next to it in parentheses, because Facebook disabled my other page, associating me with someone I have no association with. I wasn't hacked, or if I was, it was caught before it happened. But in any case, my old page of 10 years, yeah, about, no, 15 years, 14, 15 years. I opened my page in 2009, all of it's gone. And I didn't really think about it. I'm gonna start there. I didn't really think about it. I was just like, okay, it is what it is. And I think that's the Sag in me. Like, okay, like I was kind of like, oh, bummed about it because I didn't want to start all over. But then I was like, okay. But it didn't hit me the impact of losing that page until I tried to rejoin groups, travel groups, because that's what I primarily use it for, is connecting with people who do the same thing. And you know, and getting information, sharing information, finding out what's going on, and being denied access to groups that I actually was a part of, and even explaining to people who I am, and them basically saying, no, you can't come in. And so that's when it hit me. I was like, oh, maybe I do care. And so I'm trying to decide if I'm gonna build up this next page or just continue on as I'm going. So anyway, those of you who find me here, it's fantastic. Thank you guys for being here. So as you guys also know, a little housekeeping, I do have my platform on my Mind Your Body that is subscription based for content, primarily my travel content, and it will consist of other things as well. But that's where you can actually go to get the videos that I should be or would have been posting here on YouTube. And you can subscribe and get access and find out the different levels and chat with me there when we have actual live conversations and discussions around some of the things that really need to be private conversations, so that we can be comfortable and everybody feels safe in voicing their opinion and not worrying about, what someone may, what platform may deem something inappropriate or whatever the case may be. I want all my members to feel autonomy in being able to speak up and ask questions or whatever in that space. So that's why I'm creating that over there and kind of just building it out now. I was just like, well, you know what? If I got to start all over, I might as well do everything right now, right? All right, so y'all, let's get into this topic. I want no further ado. Let's talk about unexpected things that happen when you're traveling. And so let me set the stage a little bit. So I told you guys I'm in Cabo Verde, right? And so this is one of the things that you have to think about when you're traveling, and why I am now in the last 3 to 4 months of perpetual planning, which is actually really starting to like dim my light a little bit. So I'm trying to get somewhere where I can sit, but also be somewhere where I am in being able to be my best self in the environment that I choose, right? So one of the things I have to think about is visas. And lately I've been just traveling on visas and not applying for any long-term visas. And when I talk about these 5 things, and also the difference in traveling as a nomad as opposed to being at home, wherever home may be, and planning a trip, and these things happen. So you kind of have things that you can have the same situation happen, but the impact can be much greater for those of us who are living this more nomadic lifestyle where there is no turning back. There is no, well, go back home, or figure it out, pre-plan, go the next time. I mean, you have that, but it's kind of more like spot on, you gotta do it right now, right? um So yeah, I want to talk about it from that perspective, and I really just kind of real time because today, and I was just like, oh dang it, I've been doing research and stuff and didn't know that this happened. So the first one I'm gonna bring up is definitely unexpected and something that a lot of times we can plan for some of it, but you can't plan for everything. And that is if some unexpected weather disaster or something happens, even if it's something that happens in a place a lot, like you go to a place that has lots of hurricane season, people who take cruises. People haven't stopped taking cruises because of hurricanes. Only times yeah, hurricanes. Is it hurricanes? Yeah, hurricanes. Like, is it wake tacos? Is it tsunamis? I guess it could be both, but it's like those type of weather patterns, but primarily hurricanes and stuff like that. And so we know certain areas in certain parts of certain waters, there's, you have to be mindful that these types of weather events could happen during the span of, let's say, May through October, right? Take your pick. And so most of the time we plan around it. But if you go and check these sites, these cruises still run. People are still on them even during the hurricane seasons, and things happen, right? And so weather stuff that happens, let's say as I'm planning to head to my next stop, are things that can like completely deter a person who is a nomad from going there. And let's say it's a weather pattern that completely debilitates the system, the social system, right? Which means thinking of why would you want to go to a place that's under distress socially, from a social economic perspective, meaning that their government is actually in repair, right? Or where you're going is that area is no longer like really viable, or now you got to deal with things. So let's say flooding. So let's say you're going to a coastal town and there's flooding in that coastal town, like flooding, like you're looking at the pictures, and this was like a couple weeks ago, and the cars are covered. That's a lot of water. First, let me say that's a lot of water. And so, first of all, I missed it. This was one of I don't even know if this was a rookie mistake. Probably because I hadn't really decided where I was going to go. That's a whole nother conversation. I had like 5 destinations that I was going to pick. So I'm landing somewhere, but from there, I'm going to go to one of some places. And for whatever reason today, I was doing research and popping into groups and different things, which I'm going to talk about today, ways to remedy these types of things, or find out what's happening real time from people boots on the ground, so to speak. And for whatever reason, I was just checking and I'm doing all kinds of stuff, looking for, my accommodations. And so I usually go and I start posting in groups and stuff like that. And boom, it popped up, and I was like, wait, what city are they talking about? Like, wait, like right now? And no, it's not happening right now. But the first thing I thought of is when you think of like lots of water, or if you're going somewhere with a lot of snow, which won't be me, but let's say you're going somewhere with a lot of snow and there's an avalanche, or, or like they've had a huge snowfall and they can't dig out, whatever, and so, or mudslides, stuff like you would never imagine. Or you want to go to Vienna, right? Venice, Vienna. is the other country, I think, but Venice. And like, you keep hearing that it's sinking every, so many inches, and you're just like, oh, okay, so it's like flooded, like Spider-Man movie flooded. Like, we gotta walk around in the hotel and water flooded kind of situations, right? And so you gotta like rethink, right? So in the grand scheme of things, if you're at home and you see something like this pop up, you hopefully have some travel insurance, something like that, where you can change your flights or, make some sort of provisions to accommodate something happening in the next couple of weeks, and you don't want to risk it. If you're taking a once a year vacation, you don't necessarily want to risk that and be like, okay, well, I'm only going to be there for 7 days. Do I want to go and be under the guise that maybe everything isn't functioning and I'm not going to be able to enjoy it? Like, why would you want to spend that much money, right? So you can think of it from that perspective. When you're a person that's traveling like myself and so many of my other colleagues, travel colleagues, that flip the coin thing may not be as easy, or as simple, I should say. What it then becomes is, okay, where do I go now? Should I still go? And for the most part, the reason why it can be one of those situations where we say, I'm going to go anyways, because for the most part, we're staying longer. We're staying at least 30 days, for the most part. We're staying like 30 days. We may be staying 60 days, we may be staying 90 or longer, whatever the case may be. And so we're like, okay, I can go and I can wait it out. Like, I know it's going to get better in a month from now. So I'll still go because that was my trajectory. That was my plan. I kind of want to stick to that plan. Or if it's something that really kind of debilitates the system, which means that maybe they start having airline closures, airport closures, and rail closures, or just transportation closures, moving about in that space, you can't kind of figure out how you're going to get from point A to point B. You might have to consider an alternative. And so I'm sitting here, I'm like in between. So what I did, one of the caveats is jumping in some of these social media groups. You guys use social media to benefit you, right? I know a lot of times, sometimes even I get on and just like, oh my God, can this just like all burn up? But the reasons that I value social media are for this purpose, to be able to communicate and chat with other people who are in places that I'm planning to go, or were there, have inside information, maybe have some connections for things in terms of movability, exploration, accommodations, just different things that you might need when you're staying in a place. And so social media creates that avenue to be able to link and connect with people that can tell you right now what's happening. So what I did is I joined one of the, which is something I always do, is join the expat foreigner traveler groups in specific cities and in the country holistically, because sometimes there's different types of information. A lot of times it bleeds over, but it doesn't hurt to be in the overall country, especially if you plan on moving around to different places, but also um, go directly to look for groups that are directly in the city that you plan to go to and ask those questions. My first question was, hey, thanks, I joined the group. Guys, I heard that there was some flooding a couple of weeks ago. Is everything back to normal? And people will try and share more than you want, or what, hopefully, and either let you know, yeah, this ain't a good time to come, this is how it is, so on and so forth. And then I proceeded with, if you know of areas, I have an idea of where I was looking to stay. And given the flooding information, kind of made me start to rethink, should I consider something else or somewhere else? And based on the information that they share, will determine whether or not I continue with that destination. Okay? So weather is one of the first ones that, we ain't got no control over. I don't care how much meter man get on and tell you what the weather's gonna be, because I literally probably every couple of days I check one of my weather platforms and do like a scan for the next 3 months. Especially if I know I could go somewhere and stay for 2 to 3 months. They out there, yeah. Okay, so it's Saturday, so it's Saturday night. Hopefully, okay. I'll carry on. The next unexpected thing that can happen, and there could be so many reasons for this next one, why this next one could potentially happen. But missed flights. Okay, so I've had missed flights happen before to me. I've missed flights because of something I've done. I mean, this isn't a regular thing. I know in Thailand it happened, and that was from Bangkok to Phuket, or Phuket back to Bangkok, one of the two. And I was really chill about it. And I was chill about it because I was just vacationing at the time, and I had time between a flight and where my next flight was going to be leaving or whatever. So I had a buffer, and the flight that I missed to rebook it was like $25. I was like super chill. I was like, oh, I can't believe I did this. Basically, what I did is I left my passport in the hotel room in the safe, and I had to go back because I wasn't gonna be able to, even. Anyway, I didn't realize until I was about to go into the airport, and they literally check your passport before you walk in the airport. This was back in 2019, and I was like, I don't have my passport. Anyway, missed flights. So one of the main things for me, like in terms of how this impacts me living this nomadic, slow mad like life, is if I'm going to a remote destination. All this stuff really is like impactful, based, happening kind of in real time, so to speak. In relation to where I am right now, because where I am is technically remote. I'm in Africa. Technically, I'm in the continent of Africa, and it's been a while since I purposely went to a place where I had limited access to movability, where it's harder to figure out how to get from point A to point B. And I don't want to deter people because it's a beautiful country with 10 islands, and you just have to make sure that you allow for the unexpected, meaning canceled ferries, flights that are astronomical in price, moving around. So it's one of those places where you have to definitely plan. And then if something falls through, what are alternatives? What are you going to do if things fall through? And kind of getting here was tougher than I expected from Greece because of we'll talk about these things in my one-off groups on my platform, but it's a consistent trend that I've seen, this being my sixth African country that I have been to, with mobility and kind of moving about on the continent and getting from point A to point B, and some of the limitations in communication or getting the information from valid and viable resources. That's kind of been the hardest thing. And so I think it's probably easy to miss flights. It's easy to kind of be overzealous. So I'll give you an example because this happened. This happened on my way here. I was in Greece. Like I said, I was on an island in Greece, and that wasn't the problem. The problem came when I was trying to plan how to get here and trying to keep my cost reasonable, because one of the other things that I mentioned before, we have to keep taking into consideration is visas. And so I'm on a tourist visa, which is only, it's 30 days or less, without applying for an extension or anything like that. And so with keeping that in mind, I always look at like, where can I go that is budget friendly if I can only stay 30 days, right? So I'm definitely not interested in taking a flight that is the same amount of money it would cost me to go to the US from way over here, and that's basically what happened. That's what the cost was. And it wasn't so much that the flights were really expensive, it was that the bags were super expensive. Like, in some instances, the baggage fees were upwards of, I paid an extra 145 technically for my full route, but somewhere started at 174, 189. And the reason being is because they have so many stops in between. And so if there's a switch in an airline, and there's a little tips for you guys, if there's a switch in the airline, they're not gonna kind of cover your baggage costs for the next airline. They're going to charge you for it. So you have all these additional charges. So trying to make sure that I could get here without spending the night in a country, visa reasons, European visa reasons, and eliminate trying to get close enough to direct flights so that I don't have all of these additional fees, kind of put me at a point where when I landed in Lisbon, because Lisbon has direct flights here, but direct flights here from Lisbon, it's a 4-hour flight, you guys. It's a 4-hour flight. They were either $200 on average, that was the low. It either jumped from 200 on one airline, the only airline that really is from this country, to, if you fly from Lisbon's given airline, which is TAP, they were literally like $500 for just that leg. And I was like, I'm not doing that. I'm not doing it. Anyway. So anyway, I found a flight from Lisbon here that was, I think, $100 and something, $200, something like that. I think it was 250. I think it was 250. But in kind of reading and joining some of the social media groups and all of that, what it occurred to me is what I normally carry as my bag and my rolling bag would now be 2 checked bags. Now I got to pay for another bag, and it wasn't just a $45 bag like I paid from Greece to Lisbon. It wasn't that. It was $100 for what ended up being a 10-kilogram bag. And then I still had another bag that they let me carry it anyway. So it was those types of things unexpected. Like, God, I planned this, but I didn't plan for that. But luckily I had my ears to the ground. I was listening, and I was like, really? Because I've flown this airline before years ago, but I was also not carrying all of my things. And so when I got to Lisbon, I didn't think that I was gonna make the flight. So there was a 3.5 or almost 4-hour layover. Let me tell you, it took up until like boarding the flight for me to get where I was going, because of the process to get checked in and get where and it was like that before. I flew to Senegal, and we had to pass through actually this country, and a layover was here in this country. But getting from Lisbon to Senegal, I had the same situation. And so I just knew I wasn't going to make the flight. I thought I would miss the flight. And luckily, I made the flight. In that time that I was trying to figure out what I was going to do, I went ahead and paid for the bag, because I knew they were going to charge me for the bag. It was like, it became evident that they were going to charge me for the bag. So knowing those things in advance, and knowing whether or not, because those things could impact you getting to your gate on time, right? So if you don't prepay for your bag, you might be in a world of trouble. Now, whether or not they want to upcharge you, I don't think a lot of airlines do that except in the US. Sometimes they'll charge you more at the gate, but I think these were like, this is the price. It's going to be, it was $100 online. It was $100 when I got to the gate. So I could have missed my flight. I don't know, God willing, everything worked out. So, but missed flights is something that could happen because, and it's things that could be out of your control. It could be things in your control too, because you don't get there in time, you don't allow for enough time. Because I'm thinking 4 hours is more than enough time. I'm in the airport. What could happen? You have a misconnecting flight. Your flight leaving is delayed, which is what happened to us. Our flight was slightly delayed, but we picked up that airspeed and made it on time. So all of those little things can impact or deter where you're going or how you get there. And then the impact that has is extra fees, right? So you start trying to account for how much money you're going to spend when something initially was, I can do this. Is $300 flight one way. I got it. And then it starts to add up, and now you're at $600. And if I were to have missed that flight, okay, I think my Wi-Fi went out. So not only am I thinking about, and these are just things to consider, you guys. Not only am I thinking about, what's the next flight that I can catch out that isn't astronomical? It's how often do these flights go? And then boom, can I leave the airport? Which means I would have to go through immigration and stay in the country that I'm counting days in, right? So you got to think about all of those types of things. So then you got hotel fees, you got taxi or Uber fees, whatever that is going to cost, and baggage fees, delay. And then if you miss your flight, you got to pay for another flight. Because a lot of times, if you miss your flight up to like right before and you don't have a refundable or change ticket type flight, which sometimes happens when I'm moving around, like I don't like one in the middle. And these I've been buying like the highest, like economy plus, economy flex, simply because of this. But that's to accommodate the bags that I now know they're going to charge me for. But those are the types of things that then turn a $300 or $400 flight into $1,000 flight, something that you weren't expected. And those kinds of things can deter you going to a destination, right? And it has nothing to do with that destination. Ain't that destination's fault per se, but it's little things like that you want to be aware of. All right, number 3, dietary restrictions or dietary needs, or you find out what the diet is in place, and possibly getting sick. I haven't been sick anywhere, knock on wood, that I've traveled to, thank God. But I frequently deal with dietary I don't want to call it constraints, but limitations. And not necessarily because the country is limited in what I eat, right? And so what that does is that impacts where I stay. So maybe I was going to do like a hotel or a guest house or something like that, which usually is like a B&B. So they usually serve breakfast or they'll alternate and serve lunch. But if the food that they serve I'm not eat, then that doesn't benefit me. Then I have to make sure I get an apartment. And in some cases, an apartment is cheaper. It's bigger. But what if you're in a place where the upcharge for apartments is just astronomical, right? What if that happens? And so those are situations where it's kind of, it may be that like most places I go to, I know they're meat heavy. I already know this, so I've kind of got my mind set on what I just need, at least a refrigerator. I mean, I stayed in Rhodos, Greece, in a hotel room basically that was basically fitted with a mini kitchen downstairs that we can use, and we had access to a full kitchen in a hostel. But my room just had a little refrigerator. And so, and I did that actually on purpose, right? But I knew in advance, I knew that that was going to be the setup. And so it wasn't unexpected. But when it becomes unexpected is when you get somewhere and like I'm here and you're like, okay, I'm in a tropical place. I've got all kinds of access to fruit and stuff. And somebody tells you like my first day, I think it was my first day, someone who speaks very good English in one of the local stores, he was like, oh yeah, you're gonna have a hard time finding fruit. You'll find vegetables, but and what he meant is anything like tropical fruit. So they do have soursop here, but I just haven't found any good soursop. But they got bananas and apples and oranges, right? So you at least have those types of things. But it was like, yeah, if you're looking for, the typical kind of exotic type things, you're most likely not gonna find them, but you'll find vegetables and things like that here easily. So I was like, oh, could I have looked that up? I kind of did, but I didn't read far enough to say that I have to be on a certain island for it. So when they talk about the country as a whole, it's like, yeah, you have all of this vegetation. I was like, I'm gonna be good. Oh, I'm gonna eat good. I'm gonna eat fresh. And it's like, oh, okay. The two islands that I'm on, it's like it's limited, but not to a point where I can't manage it. And so I just go to the markets and figure it out, and you just work through it. But understanding dietary needs, and then if it's going to have an impact on your body, uh, or cause you illness or something like that. Maybe it's just mental fatigue because you're not getting the nutrients and things that you need, which is, I think, a very impactful thing to someone who has, limitations or created restrictions on the types of foods that we eat. So that's just something to consider, to keep in mind. All right, number 4, y'all. Let me do I have 4 or 5 things? Or no, was that number 2? Hold on, y'all. Let me see. No, that was number 3. So number 4, lost luggage. Unexpected things that can happen that can do your travel, and specifically have a bigger impact on you when you're slow traveling like this. Long term is lost luggage. On this trip here was the first time I really was concerned about lost luggage. And because I was like, okay, if something happens between Athens and Greece, I said Athens and Greece, Athens and Lisbon, I got this flight because I'm not staying overnight. So you got to think about that. And I thought about it, but I was like, fingers crossed, everything goes well. If my bags were lost and didn't make it before I had to get on the flight to the islands, then what would I have done? Could that mishap have deterred my trip and been like one of those things, well, it's not meant for me to come, because you're not going to come all the way to the island. And if you're, for me, because I had to check both bags, that means that all of my clothes, so even the clothes that I put in my carry-on, because you're supposed to separate your stuff. It's a little tip, y'all. Separate your stuff so you have some things that you need, some hygiene items, personal care items, and a couple changes of clothes. Obviously, you can probably buy things. Some communities you can't find things to fit. It depends on where you're going and that type of thing. But try to have some of that stuff in your carry-on bag. And so, yeah, I did. But my carry-on bag became a check bag. And so I don't have any of that. And I was like, okay, this could be an issue. So, knock on wood, nothing happened. But again, this video was to kind of be a forewarner of things to think about, to consider, so that it may hit you by surprise. It may be quite unexpected when these things happen because you don't have any control over it. But how do you resolve it? How do you remedy it? Especially if you're connecting. And for me, I was connecting to a different airline. So it's not even like a connection, and I can go and call AGN, and AGN is going to get me my bag in Cabo Verde, because they don't fly here. There is no AGN office here. So that means that I would have to wait. If I came straight through, I would have to wait for a month to go back and try to get my bags. Oh my God, that would have been a headache. So that is just something, and lost luggage actually comes up more than I think we think. I've had lost luggage a couple of times, but when it happened, I was heading back to the States, and so I was in a stationary location. I could wait. It was like, 4 or 5 days before the bag came, but boom, I knew where I could go and pick the bag up. When you're moving around like this and there is no place, it becomes a little bit more stressful. It's something to think about. So remember that. You got multiple connections and you're moving around like this, the possibility of having a lost bag increases. Or not even a lost bag, but a lost bag or baggage that doesn't make it quick enough for you to check it in to jump onto your next flight. So allow enough time. You would think 4 hours is enough time. It may not be, depending on the airport and the design and layout of that airport, how you get from point A to point B. I'll give you one airport tip not to play those games in, and that's Frankfurt. Just don't play no games in Frankfurt, period. Don't even play. Don't do nothing. Okay, the next one. Okay, yes, so this be 5, and I'm gonna give you one little extra tip from a video that I saw. Last minute host cancellations, or the accommodation you end up in that you booked or whatever ends up not being up to par on any level. And I've had this happen a couple of times, and I don't think I've had a host cancellation, knock on wood. I don't know if there's any wood around here. And I know many of people who have experienced this, so I feel your pain and all of that when that happens. But that could be one of those unexpected things that happen when you're traveling. And this is, it has different levels to it, but let's say I'm slow traveling. So for the most part, I will book a place for a couple of days, a week at the most, and then figure it out. From there, if I'm going to stay, extend, I have a whole process in booking my accommodations. And then long term, am I going to stay long term? Am I in the area I want to be in? Am I in the city I want to be in? So on and so forth. But the problem comes in when you land somewhere and it's nighttime. Obviously, the goal is try not to do that as much as possible. But I've been on some sites and platforms where they only have nighttime flights, and so you gotta work around there. There's a whole string of things you have to think about in these processes in the event that these types of things come up. So what happens when you land and there's a cancellation, or you show up? I mean, I've heard the stories, I've read the blogs and things like that, where people are like, I show up at the address that they gave me. Happened when I went to Colombia, and I couldn't find the address because the address that was listed in the Airbnb was not the proper address. Why she wouldn't change it, I don't know. So she had sent a message. She sent a message, but it didn't come through to me with the actual address. And so I'm clicking on the link that says this is how you reach your destination, and it was something that didn't exist. We drove around, me and the cabbie drove around for 2 hours. And I was just like, just take me to any hotel. And there was a language barrier, all of those types of things. We ended up eventually linking up the next day, and she told me where it was. And I was like, but that's not the address. She goes, well, yeah, I sent you a picture. And I was like, okay, can you just update it? Why would you just update it on the platform that we're supposed to trust, right? So that can happen. Or get to an accommodation and you're like, oh, hell no. Hell to the no, no. You know what I'm saying? That happened when I was in Egypt, and I ended up traveling with a lady that I met there, and we were trying to we flew into Cairo, but then we had to take a train to Luxor so that we could start the tour thing. We took a cruise and all that stuff. We did the Nile River cruise. And we got to the hotel that they picked for us for that night. We got there like 1:30 a.m. And she walked in before I did. And she was like, nope, nope, not doing it, can't do it. And we walked out. We hailed the guy who dropped us off and was like, okay, we'll book something else, drop us off somewhere else. And luckily we were able to get something, and it was last minute. We only needed it for one night, but things happen. And what happens when you get somewhere and maybe you're in a place that, let's say you're going to something like a place that has a huge event happening, and you can't get another hotel, or maybe it's so far away you gotta get a rental car, but you can't get a rental car because they're all taken. So these are little things, that unexpected things that can happen, that can deter your travel. And again, so for those of us who are like, yeah, okay, I'll take it with a grain of salt, I'll figure it out, or I'll have a plan B, I'll have something where I can figure out what to do. And even sometimes when you have a plan B, like my circle, our travel network, travel group circle is kind of in that support network that says, okay, don't panic, don't freak out. How can we assist one another? Do I know somebody there? Do you know somebody there? And that's why the social media groups are actually really good as well. So you can reach out to somebody, and say, has this happened to you guys? What do I do? So on and so forth. That's my 5 things. And the last thing I'm going to give you guys, hold on, let me just check my notes right quick. Just check and make sure I covered all the things to consider. And each one of those things, like I break down in one-on-ones with people around how to figure out if you're going to run into issues and what you can do to kind of circumvent those types of things from destroying your trip, so that you still have a great time. Or if you're a nomad like me, I've got, if I find out this next place I'm going to is not a good place to go, I have some options, and I'll just pop into somewhere else. And flights from where I'm going to land after this to the next destinations are so cheap. I can even technically, so it's going to be so easy to move around. My main concern is getting off of the island so that I can get somewhere that's a little bit more feasible for me to move without costing me an arm and a leg, potentially. And then the last thing, this is kind of a funny, but it's not a funny, but I saw this video, and it was a girl who, and I didn't know where she was at first, but the first thing I thought of was a particular country, because I've seen this happen before. And then I ended up reading some comments. I was on a platform that doesn't show you the comments, but anyway, it was a girl who, there was a monkey, and a monkey had some paper, and the monkey's like taking it and ripping it. I was like, what is he doing? And this girl walks up, and y'all may have seen this video, and the girl walks up and she's trying to, I guess, trade with the monkey. Like, first of all, these monkeys are not playing, and they can rip your skin off, because that's just how strong they are. And she's trying to negotiate like with the monkey and get back whatever the monkey had, but the monkey's ripping it. It was her passport. So my first question was, how did the monkey get your passport? And I understand, because my first thought was, oh man, I saw something similar to that happen, where a monkey went into someone's purse and grabbed something out. Sorry, y'all. The kid's right by my window. Where the monkey went into somebody's bag and grabbed something, and this was in Bali. Come to find out, she was in Bali. She probably was at the temple that we were, or the sanctuary actual area where all the monkeys are, because it looked very familiar. But we're trying to figure out, how does a monkey get your passport? Because one of the things they tell you right out the gate, now, and that is something that can completely derail your trip, because now you got to go to an embassy, and you hope they have an embassy that you can go to and get a replacement passport, because that's what you got to do. You're not going to be able to fly. You know, you can't show somebody the video and be like, I swear the monkey ate my passport, because literally the dog ate your homework. So you're going to have to figure out what you're going to do, and you can't use, once a passport is damaged, like it's damaged because they consider like, you know, it's tampered with or whatever. Yeah, a monkey tampered with it. Still don't know how the monkey got it. One of the things they do tell you is to make sure that you don't have an open bag. Make sure that the bag is closed, zippered, you know, you don't have like an open kind of tote, because they see those things and they know that there's something in there and they can get it. Or maybe, I don't know if she was out and had it and she was looking at it with somebody. You goes, anytime I'm just gonna say, anytime there's monkeys around, put all your stuff away, because they will take your earrings off, everything. They will come and commandeer your stuff and then make you negotiate to get it back. So that's one of those extra situations that can really put a damper. Like, I mean, and she looked like she was calm as he was ripping the pages out of her passport book, but I don't know. So hopefully she was able to recover, get a new one, and make it home, or whatever the case may be. But those are some of the things that could happen unexpectedly while you're traveling, and how they could impact some of us slow travelers a little bit more. All right, y'all. So that was like my impromptu for an hour, yay, chat that I wanted to have. And literally, as I was doing some planning, trying to book my accommodations for my next location, which is why I won't even announce where I'm going, because I want to make sure that, you know, it makes sense for me to go, so I'm not getting there and then I gotta like bounce right out. So but that's why this came up, and I was like, you know what, I haven't gone on live in a while, let me go on and quickly or share this with you guys, and maybe it'll resonate with you all. If it does, please leave a comment, let me know if this is helpful, if it helps you prepare, not necessarily for the unexpected, but just prepare for your trips and just have more peace of mind that you know what you could potentially what you might need to do in the event that something like this happens. But you know, in all things, try to keep your calm. Sometimes there's nothing you can do. And the last tip I'm going to make about all of these things is something I share as a must, is never travel on your last dime. I mean, I know sometimes it's not possible. Hopefully I'll never be at that point, you know, where you're just like, you know, because anything can happen with bank accounts and stuff like that. You know, I think about that all the time. But keeping a network that's close enough that, you know, hey, can you book a trip for me on your credit card? I got you. I'll pay you back. Make sure that you have access to money in the event that, and it doesn't have to be cash, but most places, even if you have to book something that's expensive, you pay on a credit card, you pay on a credit card and you go to a well-known hotel, or you know, you book the next flight or whatever. You figure out how to do those things. But I always really recommend, especially to solo women traveling, is make sure you're not going somewhere with very limited money and you don't know anyone, because that's when that stress starts to add up. And sometimes we make decisions that then have adverse impact to us, and it just, things just start snowballing and snowballing and snowballing. And so if you can by all means, make sure that you do have the means to remove yourself from a situation, or if you find yourself in one of these mishaps, you can quickly evacuate, or go somewhere else, maybe even nearby, and then have a little bit of time to figure out what your next move is. Okay, so anyway, hopefully y'all that is helpful. Remember that I do have a platform, mindyourbodyandsoul.com. I do have videos and things that are on there, and my travel community is there. So if you guys would like to get more of my tips and tidbits, I'm actually downloading a travel must-have series is going there, and I have a couple of other videos on there from the last couple of locations I was in, But anyway, that's where you're going to find most of those things. I'll try to do my impromptu videos here on YouTube for you guys, my live videos. And then you guys can ask me any questions that you'd like. And hopefully, I'll see you guys in the comments when you watch this on the replay. You guys know the drill. I appreciate you. Click like, subscribe, leave me a comment, click the notification bell so you get notified when I post something new, whether it's a post, a short, or a live video. And hopefully we'll be chatting soon, you guys. I'll share a little bit more. I'll probably post a short so you can see where I am, because I don't think you guys, if you only follow me on YouTube, you may not have seen my current location and how beautiful it is here in Cabo Verde, which is off the west coast of Africa, actually directly across from Senegal. So anyway, questions about that, you guys, please let me know, and we'll chat soon. You guys know the drill. Toodles and noodles. Peace and hair grease. Sorry, y'all. I'm trying to